Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live. Hopefully you can hear me. So if you are tuning in, I am using the sound from my little camera. So hopefully it's connected. If you could let me know, those of you coming on, this is Jenny Norris. I'm your host of the Home Staging Talk Show Live, which is a weekly live broadcast. And the whole goal is to have conversations about the home staging industry and interview people. And so, and have really great topics that help people who are watching to grow and advance their businesses and just share interesting topics. So, if you are tuning in, let me know you can hear me. We've got a great show for you planned. First of all, I'm going to do this before I forget. Oops, this is falling apart. Okay, this is for Sandra Holmes, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Sandra. We love you. Celebrate another year of you being who you are, wonderful, special human being, colleague, friend, mentor to many, successful businesswoman, and just hope you have a fabulous day and a great year. So love you. Okay. So can you guys hear me? Those of you coming on, hopefully. All right, so before we get going, okay, good, thanks, Joseph. So have some announcements. We got a great show for you today. I've got Catherine Lewis Brown coming on, and Catherine, I don't see you in the studio, so you need to make sure to connect with that little link, because I know you're on that side, you're commenting, so I want to make sure that we can actually get you on the show. So you got to click on that link to come into the broadcast, and I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can do this. I don't know how to do this. But I sent you the link, so hopefully that works. Okay, I'm going to do this really fast. So I don't know if you guys can still see me or not, but this is a link. I should be the same one I just sent you last night. Okay. So Catherine, I sent you the link. Let me know if that's different than the one I sent you last night, because if it is, I got to do the same thing for Leslie Kramer, who's going to come on. All right, so of course we are getting close. We're getting close. So our conference is coming up October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You are sitting on the fence. You're thinking, like, do I really need to go to a conference? What am I gonna take away? Or I'm just brand new in my business. Why would I go? Maybe I'll wait till next year. I went my first year. I was pretty new in the business and learned a lot and was able to share and meet so many wonderful colleagues. And the topics we have, of course, we have 39 different speakers sharing on 25 different topics because we have different panels. So we have a panel on closing the sale, because a lot of people they don't know how to get the business. Once you send off a proposal or talk to a client, how do you actually confirm the business? So we're going to have a panel discussion on that. And then we also have a panel discussion on working with realtors, and it's taken from the realtor perspective, what realtors really want from stagers. And then also we have a stager on the panel, Kevin Tain, who'll represent our side. And then we also have a panel on I'm tired. Panel on the investor staging designation, the consultant, investor staging consultant. That's 5 speakers that'll be sharing. So that's how we have 39 speakers and 25 topics. So we also have the advanced stager training coming with that. So get your tickets at ihospconexpo.com, ihospconexpo.com. So Leslie, I see you're there, but you're not in the studio. So let's see if I can. Catherine, was the link I gave you, was it the same as last night, or was it a different link? Different link. Okay, I'm going to do this. Leslie, I'm going to message you really fast then, because I messed up then. I thought I sent you the right link, and it was probably just a link for the show. So here you go. So just click on that link that I just sent you on Facebook. I messaged you through Facebook. So just click on that and you'll come into the studio. Okay, so there's still tickets available. We're getting close to selling out. Have a great lineup of speakers, great lineup of activities, and so forth planned. It's going to be super fun. So Nashville, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So iHostCon Expo, this is our speaker lineup. You can see it's just chock full of wonderful industry professionals that are giving of their time and their knowledge to help you advance your business. So everything for beginners, intermediate, and advanced topics will be shared. Something for everybody, which is great. So those of you that are coming to the conference, if you're watching, you got to make sure to download the Whova app, WHOVA. WHOVA. You can find it in your Play Store, whether you're Apple or Android. You need to download that, and then you're going to put in a code, and I'm not going to announce it live here because it's just for our attendees who've paid. So you can always email me, and I'll get that to you. Jennie, JENNIE at IAHSP.com. I'll send you the code, and then you're going to be able to access our event on that app, and that's where you register for all your breakout sessions. Plus, there's so much other information sharing, meetup groups, questions being asked and answered for people, just a lot of really good engagement. So make sure to download that app. Our keynote speakers, of course, celebrity keynotes, Carson Kressley, Tom Phillips, Candace Olson. So Friday is Candace afternoon. She'll share. She's actually going to come on our awards dinner with us, which is really awesome. And then Saturday we have Tom and Carson who will be joining us. And actually they're flying in on Friday, so I might invite them to I see if they want to join us on the ship as well, because you never know. But I'm really interested to hear what they have to say. They're, of course, been on television and have shows and are very engaging, but they're also very successful business people that are going to be able to answer questions about how do they retain their longevity in the industry, because as we know, a lot of these people, they come and then they fade away. So these people have had staying power for over 20 years. So we're excited to have them joining us. And of course, our keynote inspirational speaker is Barb Schwartz. She'll be sharing on the boat from 8:30 to 9 o'clock is the plan. And, we'll adjust things as needed. But she's going to be doing an inspirational keynote talk. So we're looking forward to having her share. She's always awesome. And let's see here. Speaking of which, our Friday night awards dinner is going to be on the General Jackson Showboat. It goes very slowly down the Cumberland River, and we have a great night planned for everybody. So we'll have delicious food. There'll be music. We'll do our award ceremony. We're going to have, of course, Barb sharing, and then maybe even some time to dance and so forth. And it's just a beautiful setting to be able to be cruising down the river slowly, so no seasickness for anybody, and be able to do that. So denim and diamonds, people are asking what they should be wearing. So make sure that you have something that goes with the theme if you would like. People are glamming it up, and some people are going to be in denim. If you are wearing jeans or denim, just please understand that it is an awards dinner, so no ripped or torn jeans, no booty shorts. Which I don't think any of us would wear unless you're like 20 something. But anyhow, dress it up even though you're wearing your denim. So it's denim and diamonds. We have some special things planned. And we'll also be doing a couple of live auction things for the IAHS Foundation. So this week is actually Worldwide Staging Service Week. And many of the chapters are doing their service projects now all over the world. So the fundraiser, the live auction raises funds for Worldwide Staging Service Week through the IAHS Foundation, which is a nonprofit. And so we'll be doing a few auction items that night, not the whole thing. And then throughout the conference, we'll be having other things that we'll be raffling or off or auctioning off for raising funds. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun night. Get your boots on. Let's see here. This is the overall look at our conference. So again, 39 speakers, 39 topics, 25 speakers. We have the investor staging consultant designation. So I was on the phone yesterday with the people that are sharing on that and just working through the framework. It's going to be a really, really awesome session. You do have to be present, of course, to get the designation. So people who have to leave early or what have you, unfortunately, you will not receive the designation. It will be something that we will put up in the future that you'll be able to watch. And then, you have to submit projects and so forth to qualify to receive the full credentials. Okay, so that's going to be very exciting. What else? Okay, we have advanced stager training. So advanced stager training is a collaboration between 6 different industry leaders that either have programs they teach, they're coaches, they run an association, etc. So you have Marianne Cherico on the left, Joanne Leonard-Weary in the middle, Catherine Lewis Brown, who's with us today, on the right. Down on the bottom left is Melissa Morrow, myself in the middle, and Jana Usselton. So collectively, we represent different educational entities, coaching, or even running an association. And so last year we did this with just 4 of us. It was the first collaboration of its kind. So this year we added 2 more people. So it's going to be 2 days of advanced education. So you do need to be a 6-figure or above staging business owner in order to attend. So if you're almost there, you can reach out to me privately and share. I'm not asking for, revenue, your tax returns to see if you're six figures, but the reason why it's geared towards the advanced is the things that you deal with as you advance your business, or the challenges and so forth, are different than when you're newer, just starting out, or maybe, you are mid-range, you're growing, but you haven't gotten to that point where you're adding a team and doing these different things. And so, hi, Keely. Yeah, Joseph, pack booty shorts. I'm watching the comments down there. Hey, by the way, everybody who's tuned in, thank you for tuning in. Share this on your page. That way we reach more people. I appreciate that. So anyway, the advanced stager training for six-figure and above people, that's on October 6th and 7th. So it follows the conference, which is going to be great. So we're looking forward to that. All right, get this out of here. It's going to be, we have 3 guest speakers who will also be sharing, who are not sharing during the main stage. Actually, Renee on the left will be on the realtor panel. But Renee Helton, who is a Keller Williams agent here in the Denver area, but she's also much more than that, a MAPS coach with Keller Williams for many years. She does coaching. She actually has a real estate training school that she has established here. So she's an educator. And her topic is going to be on business productivity and sales, and being able to generate that, because oftentimes, we are the rainmaker. When you're the owner of the company, you're in that position unless you've given it to somebody else and are paying them in that role, but somebody's got to make the sales. And of course, marketing always precedes sales, but somebody's got to get that business. So being productive with our time and knowing how to delegate and be in the position that's most valuable for us as far as our time is concerned. So that'll be on, they'll be sharing during the advanced stager training. So then Jonathan Miller in the middle will talk about marketing and branding, and then Brandy Sales on the right will also talk about branding and video tech, using our cell phones and different applications. He's very savvy in that. So hopefully be able to do some hands-on with this as well, because it's one thing to listen to somebody on stage. It's another thing to actually get your phones out and to do something with them, because I think technology is the bane of many stagers' existences, because they're not tech. We have a course in London coming up. So October 21st and 22nd in London. It's a staging business course, being hosted by iHosp Europe, hosted by HSA UK, which is the Home Staging Association in the UK, and taught by stagedhomes.com certified course trainers, Sonia Radovinovich and Verena Mumford. So if you're watching this and you are in Europe, or you want to go to London and take a staging course, it's offered October 21st and 22nd. You can register now. And if you want information on that, you can let me know, and we get you the link to register for that. This is our second international course, which we're really excited about. And they did a great job last time, great feedback. So it's a 2-day home staging business course. All right, so today we have Catherine Lewis Brown with us from The Successful Stager, and we also have Leslie Kramer from Staged to Buy. So both of them are going to share about what they do and why they do what they do, and they are both speaking at conference. So we'll touch on that a little bit, but to hear their full session, you got to come to conference. So get your tickets. Again, they're still available, ihospconexpo.com. Leslie, you're funny. Okay, I think that's everything. All right, Leslie, I'm going to bring you on first. So it's going to count down for you. Good morning.
Good morning. You can see me?
So I can't hear him. Can you guys hear him?
Can you hear me?
Let me sure my sound is, my sound's down. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Oh, there we are. I can hear you. My volume for some reason was muted.
Okay, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
And
What's
you
on
can
your
see
forehead?
me. Yay!
Yay! Stage to Buy. That's great.
I have plenty of hairline, non-hairline, that it can stick, believe me.
That's awesome. That's your new business card. So tell everybody who you are.
Okay, my name is Leslie Kramer, and I am a current stager, former owner of a staging company that got over 7 figures. We staged about 250 houses last year. The company currently is on track to do probably 400 this year in total between the former owner and the current owner. Actually, they'll probably do, Leanne and I were told last night, they're going to do over 40 stagings in September. As with 10 years worth of experience, we never did 40 stagings in a month. Here, this guy comes in 2 months and he's doing 40 stagings in a month. Go figure. So that just goes to show you don't have to know anything about this business. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. So tell people. So you're going to talk at conference about selling your business. Your topic is Rock of Ages. You have something to sell,
Right.
And we talked about this on the leadership call, the IHOS membership call on Monday, a little bit about why this is such an important topic and how it's been avoided so much in the past, because I think it was sort of taboo to talk about leaving. Like, you don't want to quit, and nobody's quitting. It's basically having a strategic plan. So share what you shared on the membership call about you guys started, when you first started, you already had your exit strategy in mind.
Right. So what ended up happening is Leanne was in the retail business for probably about, she says 17 years. And really the October 2008, the recession got her. And luckily at the time, somehow somebody put this bug in her ear that she needed to do staging. She was selling ladies' clothing, home decor, but she was selling it out of her store. What she didn't realize is that people would come into her store. They had not a clue how to make it look good. And so she literally started going to people's houses when she owned the store, and then it led into staging. And then when she shut down the retail stores, you know, we researched what you had to do to get into the staging business. She obviously went to IHOS, got accredited, and from that point, you know, Leanne and her mom worked and worked and worked and ended up with literally nothing at the end. And so we determined that when Leanne got big, our exit strategy from the very beginning was to sell. And we did some research about 3 years ago, because we're getting to where we're a little bit older. I'm losing all of my hair. Believe it or not, Leanne is losing her hair. And so we researched on what you had to do to sell your business. And that started 3 years ago. We actively started trying to sell our business 2 years ago. We had to do about 6 to 9 months worth of work before we could really have a business that was worthy of sale. And once we put it on the market, I think it closed actually in 14 months. So our strategy all along was to sell our business, even though we didn't know how to sell the business, which we've been through that process now. We know how to do that. We know what you have to concentrate on, what is fluff, what doesn't matter anymore. And believe it or not, how you make a house look good in staging doesn't matter when you sell your business, because you've generated enough revenues that that's a given. So when you start to sell your business, it's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. When you're trying to sell your business, you're going to list it on some websites, and you literally have 5 seconds to in writing on a website to have the numbers that are good enough to where somebody can look at it and go, I'm interested in it. I'm interested in the industry. Here's a company that's making money. One of the things that we found out, being all about the money, is that you have to generate enough money to sell your company, to draw a salary for a new owner to draw a salary. You have to generate enough money to pay back a loan, and you have to generate enough money for an investor to get a return on that money. So if you think about it that way, then you have to basically be generating enough money to pay somebody 3 times their salary. And if somebody wants to make let's say $100,000 a year, you need to be generating $300,000 in
So would that be
in
gross or
revenue.
net?
No, that's net.
Net.
Really, and we'll get into obviously a lot of these numbers a little more in detail during the conference, but you've got to have a minimum of $500,000 in gross to be able to have a business that is really worth selling. If you don't have those kind of numbers, then you could have a business for sale, but more than likely you just have inventory to sell. And that's about it.
Did you have more than one person interested over the 2 years?
Yeah, really, it was just about a year that we had it open to the public. We actually had 5 lookers. Believe it or not, 0 of them knew or had anything to do with decorating or staging. That's the market, believe it or not, is not with decorators and it's not with stagers. It's, in our case, of the 5 people that looked at it, 4 people were in technology. As I got to thinking about why were they in technology, what was going on? In 100% of the cases, they were anywhere from mid-30s to mid-40s. If you think about it, where in the last 10, 15 years, where has all of the money from an employee perspective, where has it been coming from? It's been coming from the technology sector. And so they're making good salaries, as I found out. They're making good salaries. They're working their little tushes off. They're burned out. I mean, they're kind of like a stager. They're literally burned out. They're working 60 to 80 hours a week. They're making good money. They don't have time to spend it. So now they're sitting there with a bank account full of money and they're ready to get out, but they're too young to retire. So they want to do anything. They're so burned out, they don't want anything to do with technology.
And yet,
they're just looking for anything.
Having that background, I'm sure the tech background, because a lot of the staging side is getting the word out, getting exposure, having an online presence as somebody that has that technology background and understands the, websites and SEO and optimization and things. They may have an edge over some other person that comes in to buy a company. Maybe, that their savviness as in the tech industry translates into being able to get exposure for the business, which may be whether you see an uptick in the number of staging that they're doing in such a short period of time. So one of them must be really dialed into that marketing aspect.
Well, they certainly are, but what it really is, it's just a carryover from what Leanne and I did. We saw a big downturn in July. We were in August. And then I told Brandon, and you'll meet him, he's coming to conference. Don't worry about it. It's just a cycle. Yeah. And then it hit and he went, oh my God, this is incredible. And it's incredible. This is this is the 18th. I think they've done 25 stagings. But it goes in cycles, and when one investor starts, they all start. Don't ask me how they all know how that works, but that's what seems to happen.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about business cycles, that that's something that it's in the marketing book that I wrote. But people need to understand every market has a cycle, and so like your market, ours also slows right around end of August, Labor Day. It kind of goes real quiet, and then all of a sudden there's a surge. So. I remember the first time I went through a business cycle, July was the dead month in Sacramento. And I kind of freaked out, like, okay, where did all my clients go? Did they all call each other and say, don't call Jenny Norris and I'm not going to have any more business? I kind of panicked. Yeah. And then after you go through it, you realize that this is fairly normal, but every region has a time when things might have a lull. So when you know that, that's the time that then maybe you go on vacation or you use that time to do systems or work on the warehouse or whatever it is, but the business always comes back. So, and I teach my team that because they're like, why isn't the phone ringing? Why don't we have stagings? And I was like, just calm down. They'll come. I don't panic about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that we'll learn at the conference in my breakout session is one of the things to have a really good business to sell is the business can't be dependent upon the owners. And that's one of the things, thank goodness, that Leanne and I were able to do. You know, for the last 2 years, we never mentioned Leslie and Leanne Kramer. It was always Traditions Interiors.
The brand.
It's the brand, it's the branding. And when everybody started recognizing Traditions Interiors, it was no longer about Leanne Kramer, believe it or not, or Leslie Kramer. And the brand took over, and we were able to sell the business, thank goodness. And he's just as busy as he ever has been. He literally just took the ASP course last week or 2 weeks ago. He knows nothing about it. But the brand continues, the customer service continues. He was in technology, but also he was really customer service is what he was.
So are you going to talk about, and did you have documented like processes as far as, you know, how to run a project or the warehouse? Did you have things documented to sell it? Was that a requirement?
You know, we did not per se, but like I told everybody that we saw was that this is not rocket science.
Right.
As you know, Jenny, we had over $600,000 worth of inventory. People were always asking me, what kind of inventory system did you have? I had the get up off your ass and go look out in the warehouse system. That was the system that we had.
That's what I have too.
Yeah, and it works for us. So did I have a little bit of talking to convince people? Absolutely, I did. But, you know, when you're in business for yourself, every dollar that you spend and pay to somebody else comes out of your own pocket. And we knew that if we spent the time, the effort, and the money to do an inventory system, who's going to run that inventory system? It wasn't going to be me. It wasn't going to be Leanne. We were going to have to hire somebody else in the tens of thousands of dollars to run that inventory system. So to get the inventory system, hire a person to maintain it was probably going to cost me another 10 or 15 stagings a year. And we just weren't willing to do that. Was it a detriment? I can honestly say, no, it was not. But, you know, that's just one of those things that as a business owner, you have to either reap the rewards from or suffer the consequences. And we reap the rewards.
Which is great. And so you guys are still involved in the business, and let's talk about Stage to Buy.
Okay, so Stage to Buy. So one of the things that I determined as we were going through selling our business is, first off, I am a CPA also. I'm an ASP master. And like I like to say, nobody's as smart as Leanne. And so I really enjoyed the process, actually more than I enjoyed the process of staging, because it is all about the numbers. And when we got through the whole process, the buyer and the business broker, we did go through a business broker, they said, you're pretty good at this. You need to think about doing this. And I'm going, you know what? There's nobody that I know of that specializes in marketing, buying, or selling staging businesses. So I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm always going to take any other business because, as you'll learn, is that it's all about the numbers. It doesn't really matter what the industry is. There are some formulas that you use, and there's never a question of what kind of business is this. That's not a relevant question. The question is, what are your revenues? What is your EBITDA? What is your SDE? And those are the things that we're going to learn that hopefully I'm going to be able to impart to people. What does really matter when you're selling your staging business? So that's how I got into it. I got into it because I am a financial guy. I would like to say that that's what I contributed to Traditions Interiors, since Leanne was the face and she is an excellent stager and an excellent decorator. I provided all the operations and the administrative stuff, just kind of like Trish and Young do, and it worked for us. That's all I can say. We were diversified. We had 5 different categories of staging customers, and then we had a decorating arm. And so I like to say is that our business was recession proof. And I honestly believe that it is. When people stop buying houses and selling houses and want to stage, what do they want to do? They're going to fix up their house. That's
Right.
what they're going to do. So one of the things that we'll talk about in this breakout session is adding value. You hear that term all the time. What does adding value mean? Well, if I ask you that question, Jenny, you're going to give me a totally different answer than what I'm going to give. Because the only thing that adding value means to me, being a CPA, is increasing sales.
Right.
That's all it means, or reducing revenues. But if I were to ask Leanne about what is adding value, she's going to say, oh, it's going to be making houses look more pretty. It's going to be about giving better customer service. And that is the truth. That is what it is. You put all of this stuff together to add value. As long as you can properly evaluate the risk of adding that value, then you make the right decisions and you have a business to sell.
Right. And then adding the value, because as you're saying, the bottom line is it's all about the money that when you add value as a marketing tool, whatever your spiel is, the whole thing is to drive more business to your company. So whether it's in a different market niche or whatever, it's all about revenue and being able to track it. And I would even challenge, we might even do this in the advanced stage or training, but how many people know their numbers? I'm shocked at the number of people that don't know their numbers. I know down to the dollar how much I make every single month in new business. I can tell you exactly how many projects we brought in that were new, and then we add on the additional revenue from ongoing inventory use fees and so forth that come in. I can tell you the exact number of projects, and I charts and things like that I could share with anybody. And I've been doing that for at least 8 years now. So I have a history. I can go back. So let's say if I was going to sell my company, I could say this is our growth trajectory. We went up 35% last year or 50%. And as a business owner, you have to track, you have to do that. Now, don't ask me about my P&L, because that's where I don't exist. I don't have like QuickBooks. I don't put things in there. So that's what would be the next step for me, is to actually get that information so that it's, I can share that with somebody, because right now it's the money comes in, I know how much that is, and then money goes out.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, I'm the exact same way, except I do our books on a monthly basis. I've got it down, obviously, to a science. Being a CPA, I have my books done in 2 hours, and I don't have a general ledger. I have a bank statement. When that bank statement comes to me, I've got all the revenues categorized by staging, by decorating. I have all my costs broken down with a tick mark on the bank statement. It takes me 2 hours to do it. I balance cash to cash from beginning of the month to end of the month. That's how I know whether I had everything or not. And even though we have payables, we have receivables, the answer is we're on a cash basis. We don't have receivables. We don't have payables.
Right.
But you do have, you really, really do eventually. You have to have your books done on a monthly basis.
Yep. Well, I'm excited for your session. I mean, I know that, you'll have 45 minutes, that there'll still be people wanting to get more information. And so their company's staged to buy, whether you're thinking of, this is a strategy 5 years from now or whatever, it's important to start doing that now, because you got to lay the foundation. There's probably, as he said, took 2 years for them to get them into a place where they had a product that they were able to effectively sell for 7 figures. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited too. You've asked me 3 questions. We've been doing this for 20 or 25 minutes. I don't know how I'm going to cram all this stuff in 45 minutes.
Well, I'm sorry, this thing should be muted. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great session.
Yeah,
And then
it really will be.
And we'll have to have, ongoing, we'll have to maybe talk about maybe doing some kind of an educational webinar or something that is offered through your company.
Oh, absolutely.
Promote out. So that'll be really good.
Yeah, iHosp is a great partner. Absolute great partner.
Well, good.
And
well,
we're so excited about the conference.
Yes.
Leanne has only missed 1 conference since she's been an ASP. I think she missed the one in Chicago. I will tell everybody that you're going to learn a lot in the sessions, but you're going to learn even more after hours. That's where the real learning begins.
Yep.
Your only challenge is, how many drinks did I have and can I remember it all?
It's true. The meetings after the meetings, and the Gaylord is going to be a fabulous place for that because there's lots of places to hang out. And Leslie and Leanne are owners of the corporation that houses iHosp and also Staged Homes. And so really excited to have them on the team as well.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
All right. Awesome. So we'll see you in Nashville. Say goodbye, Leslie. Bye.
Goodbye.
It's cute. Now I'm going to bring Catherine on. Hey, Catherine.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Welcome from Calgary. So I think the last time I had you on, you were still in Toronto.
Yes, I'm in Calgary, far west now, two time zones over.
Are you all settled? Are you all moved in?
Yeah, but as you can see, I haven't quite figured out how to set up my my office so that I can do proper lives without like you seeing all the crap still in my office.
It's like mine.
So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Can you guys like, I don't know if the audience can see or not, but I've got piles on the floor. I'm like, I don't even care. I mean, I've got boxes of stuff coming in for conference, and so it is what it is. But
yeah. I've had people though judge my the stuff behind me, like the decorating part of it, which I'm kind of like.
I have
Someone once told me that somebody I didn't know, but she said something about the only reason I know you're a stager is because of the accessories behind you, and even then, like it's like, well, they're my office pictures.
I know. I had one lady one time when I was kind of the first, few months I was doing this. She said, she messaged me. She said, you need to be doing a podcast. I go, well, this actually gets more reach. And then she goes, you need to shorten it. An hour is too long. It's boring. I mean, she just was like, and that the backdrop you need. And I said, well, it's all purposeful, but it's sort of funny that I didn't even ask for her opinion. So,
Well, I've had, and I think I said this recently somewhere else on a Facebook Live, but it's amazing how you gravitate and you get stuck on the 1 or 2 people out of the thousands that say something that's not good, and forget all those wonderful comments that you get from other people.
I know.
So it kills me that was stuck. I remember once somebody was didn't like somebody didn't like something that I had said at like beginning of a video, because apparently I taught too much, but hey, and it wasn't somebody I knew. I don't even think it was a potential customer or client or anybody that I worked with. And I took down the video, I deleted it. And I thought, how stupid was that? And it just gets into your craw. It's just like staging. When a realtor says they don't like something or a homeowner is not happy about something, that's all you remember. You forget about all the good things that you do and all the wonderful kudos that you've had. Human nature, I guess. I
know. Well, so for those people who are tuning in who don't know who you are, because they've been living under a rock or something, tell people who you are and what you do.
Can you hear me okay? Because my volume went off there for a second. Okay. So what do I do? So my name is Catherine Lewis Brown. I am the founder of the Successful Stager training and coaching programs, which are pretty much all online. I have like a global audience that I work with, which is wonderful. I love doing what I do. I am a stager. I got my certification in 2010. And in about 2016, I started actually training. So I do actually certify stagers as well. And and I love it. I really enjoy it. And I'm in Calgary.
Yes, and she's in Calgary now. So she's a Canuck.
Yes.
In the north. And I love we have a good group coming to the conference from Canada, so I'm excited about that. Catherine is also the president of our iHosp Canada country chapter. So those people that are watching, and you don't even have to be, in person, going to a meeting. We were doing virtual chapter meetings the last Wednesday of the month. She's been doing these with Zoom. And so people that are watching, it's an education time to be able to tap in and see other colleagues and share things that are challenges or what are working for you and so forth. So make sure to tap into that. And you have the official IHOSP Canada membership. When you join, you'll automatically be part of being able to be part of that virtual chapter. And we are working on special arrangements with Canadian companies to provide furniture and business resources and so forth, so you don't feel like everything is for the U.S. or other areas and you're not being able to benefit. So
yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
And I have to say, as a Canadian market, like we have a really, really exceptional level of expertise. Oh, my phone keeps ringing. Sorry. Expertise in Canada in the staging industry. But then we have these challenges of the fact that we are very big, and we have we have some areas that are very remote. And but we still have people that sell houses across the country, right? So I think first of all is that being able to be in touch is wonderful. Being able to do sort of an online Zoom calls with stagers, and also to be sort of on the same page and to help and support each other, so that even though you might be in Newfoundland or Vancouver, you still have the same challenges. We still do the same thing in this industry. So that those challenges are there. Our dollar sucks, so that really that adds to our stress about inventory and purchasing wholesale. So that's where I'm hoping that we'll really make some strides, Jenny, and really sort of being able to have the resources that really work for us. So if there's any Canadians on the call today or that watch this, please get in touch. Go to the Canada IHOSP Facebook page and say that, or message me privately, say you want to join or you want to come to the meeting and join us in the meeting. Our next one is next Wednesday. We would love to have you, and we want to grow this group. I'm like really excited too, because the conference, I think last year there were 2 of us that went to the conference, myself and Monica Stanchu, and that was kind of where this all started, because I was like, there's more Canadians than this. And I'm not sure how many are going this year, but there's like a good handful of stagers coming this year. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, there's quite a few, and the Canadian membership is lower than the U.S. membership. So for the country chapters that are being formed, because we have Canada, and then we also have, Latin America, South Africa, Israel, Australia is coming on. So when I take a look at the currency, and if it's really, there's a real separation between the strength of the dollar and then the other currency, then we'll make an adjustment, because I don't want people to feel like it's painful to be able to be part of an association, because we want to be there to support you. So with Canada,
I really appreciate that. And I have to say, as a Canadian, it's funny because you get people just like the Americans. You get people who want the conference to be on the west side, and then they want them to be on the east side. And sometimes it's easier to go north south than it is east west. It's a long way. It's, I think, 4 different time zones, and so it is tough to do. But what was I going to say? That totally went out of my head what I was going to say. But
the dollar value.
Well, membership. The dollar value, and just the fact that that there is this opportunity for us to get together, and because in Canada, for us to pull together with a small number to have an event like that, it's hard to do that. There's Toronto ends up being the center of the universe, which if you live in Toronto, you kind of don't want that all the time, but it's expensive to fly across this country, more so than through the States usually. And so to be able to go to the States is like, that's a great way for us to get together and really suck up that energy, which we have difficulty doing here still, because we're about 1/5 of the population that you guys are.
Yeah, and what's funny, because Candace Olson, she's from Canada, and then the Scott brothers were our keynotes last year. They're Canadian, so I say the Canadian. There's something about the water, something that grows these really fabulous people that end up on TV and have great businesses.
Yes. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I actually did a consult on a house that Candace Olson did one of her shows on. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but and it was interesting because they just do in the show that she was doing. I can't remember which one it was. They had done a room, and they had done an amazing job in this room, but the rest of the house was a century home, and it didn't have proper. Something had happened to the electrical, and so upstairs no lights went on. So it's like this beautiful home. And I had to, like in my consult, I had to say to her, look, you're going to have to get a quote or else fix the electrical because nobody will buy it. And so she got a quote. So she was prepared to knock off 10 grand off the price. But which is part of what we do as a stager, is making sure our clients, if they're not going to do it, they have to know what they're giving up, and what money they're leaving on the table. And they never sold it. They never did their repairs, and she couldn't sell it. So, but even though it had Candace Olson's touch to it, so, but it was
So
beautiful.
funny. So you've kind of carved out this niche. The last couple of conferences you've shared on pricing, and I know you proposed other topics this year, but it seems we always kind of cycle back to that because it's such an important topic, and one that every stager struggles with, especially when they don't have a foundation from training or what have you, where they were actually taught how to price, how to know what their costs are, and so forth. And so talk about your topic a little bit. Don't give it all away, but what you're going to share at conference.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that it's kind of weird that I fell into being this person that talks about pricing, because I struggled with pricing for the first like sort of 2.5 years of my business, sweating profusely at the idea of like putting a quote together and then actually having to send it and them like saying no. And, and so I feel for stagers when they're first starting out, because it, not having a really strong handle on the business side and not being confident in what value you bring is really tough when you're trying to price a job. Like if you're trying to compete with other people, it doesn't work. If you try to like if you let them negotiate with you and try to get you to charge less, you make nothing. So like, how is that good? But there's all of this sort of pressure, which is one of the reasons I started a training program, because I felt like that's not the way to start a business. And you might be in it because you love staging, but you've got to make a living at this. Otherwise, what's the point? Right. And listening to Leslie talking about how you need to make actually 3 times that in order to sell, like that should be your target, regardless of whether or not you plan to sell, and so how hard is that, when you don't even really understand what the pricing is all about. And not every training program has equal footing. I don't know if the training program is about a fear of talking about it, but I just want you to do well. I don't want you to lose money. And I hate hearing stagers wanting to compromise. So that's kind of how I got into it. And as I was training, I kept trying to figure out, like, how can I figure this out better? How can I talk about this in a more clear way? And it seems to now resonate. And I'll be honest, like for pricing in general, it's really like, you've got to make more than it costs you to do the job. And
Right.
if a client can't pay for what it costs you to do the job, then they can't be your customer, or else you have to figure out how to do it for less. But it does not mean you give them more. So that's that kind of leads into what I'm talking about, which is making sure that your programs and services that you deliver are in harmony with making the profit that you want out of your business. And the other day, it was Monday, Jenny and I did a quick Facebook Live. And one of the things I mentioned on there, it was a little bit haphazard. But
One of the
my hair was like sticking up like
alfalfa. We did it.
What was that?
My hair was like sticking up like alfalfa.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. I was hanging over my counter in my kitchen, kind of like, because my kids had taken the charger from my phone and I couldn't find it at the last minute. So I have like this 12-inch charger and I was sitting next over the phone. So yeah, the joys of being visible.
Exactly.
Going live. But one of the things that I thought was so interesting was I was watching, and I'm going to try and find the clip so that I can post it, but it was Gary Vaynerchuk, who is like world-renowned business owner, entrepreneur, like very successful. He's kind of abrasive, but I will tell you, he was the person that inspired me to start training, like creating a program, because I was doing like one-off, like a pricing class, actually master classes. And I went to see him speak at a Toronto event. And he basically turned around, gave someone 50 grand in the audience to go start a business that was like about making one particular part of the community, really sort of uplifting it. And it was I was so impressed. And he said, if you're getting into business for what you want now, you're going to be in trouble. You need to be thinking about like what your clients are going to want from you down the road, not what's happening right now. And I remember sitting at my desk and that kept going through my mind. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I have to do a training program. So all of a sudden, like everything changed. And so that's where you get. But one of the things that he said, I heard him say the other day, was profit is not about anybody else at all. It's about what you want out of your business. It's about what you want to do out of your business, and will your business afford for you to do it? And if it can't, then you need to increase your profit. margin. If it's not, then and if it's not giving you what you need, then you have to change your profit. You have to add a profit margin. You can't just be bringing in what it costs you to do the job. You have to bring in more. Otherwise, you're going to be working 40 hours a week, well, 60 hours a week, because you need 40 hours of billable time in order to make what you make. But then you can't take a vacation. You can't be sick. God forbid you were sick. You know, you're not going to get, the only pleasure you're going to get is staging, but then you're going to be exhausted. So how great is that, right? So your profit has to be about what you want out of your business. And so what we're going to talk about in the session is how you can look at your programs and services and make sure that they're in that profitability range for you, and that they are exactly what you need them to be and your customers need them to be.
And I think a lot of people talk, you know, they'll look at a staging project and they'll say, you know, here's it costs X. This is what client's paying me. These are my costs associated with this project for, you know, labor and team members and whatever else. But they also forget to factor in just your business is not 100% profitable at any given time. You have overhead. And so when we do the master's course, we break it down. Insurance, do you have a warehouse, you have vehicle costs, you have, you know, cost of just, you know, marketing costs, collateral material development, you have all these things, education, the events you want to attend. We factor all that in, you break it down. So then if you have, let's say it's cumulatively annually, let's say I'm just gonna throw a number of 10 grand, or so I'll say 12,000 just for easy math. That may be $1,000 a month in overhead. And let's say I do 10 projects in a month, then I have to allocate $100 per project to cover that overhead.
Exactly.
So you have to get that analytical about it, because otherwise you don't know really if you're profitable. And when these people that come back and say, well, I only want to pay you X, and then, you know, you have to know what your walkaway price is. You know, I'm not going to pay you for the privilege of staging your house. This is a business I run, and I'm not going to go in the hole in order to do your business. And I know that sometimes, you know, there's a little give and take. If there's a client that, you know, once in a while they might have a tighter budget, but you can't operate at a loss all the time, because then A, that's not good for your bank account, but B, let's say you decide to sell your business, you're operating at a loss. Nobody wants to own a business, purchase a business that's a loser, unless they're looking at it from a standpoint of offering you a little, you know, a lot less of the value than it's worth, and they're getting a deal. And that's not really how you want to position your business. So
and
the cost,
and it's hard on your ego.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard on your ego, because you forget that you are like really, you've been giving away work. And I always, like, I remember the day that it was really, I had this big aha moment, and I was doing a vacant, and they asked me, can you do it for the same price and do an extra room? It's like, yeah, okay. And I had to, and it just came out of me, and I said, if I do that for you, then my rental company still gets paid, my warehouse gets paid, my staff get paid, my bills get paid, and I won't get paid. Right. And so, no, I can't do that. And so that was a big aha moment of like, hey, no. And the thing that I learned very early on, but I didn't apply it as much as I should have until later, was that if someone asks you to pay less, like they don't want to pay what you have, first of all, I don't know, you should really question whether or not they're a great client. I do think there's always negotiation. Like, there's nothing wrong with someone coming and asking about, can we do this? Can we fix this around? Negotiating like that, I have no problem with. But when someone just is cheap and doesn't want to spend money, then I have a problem with that being my ideal client, because they're not. But the thing is, you need to turn that around and say that I can do it for less, but I will give you less. So if we take out this, if you want to do it for $500 less, what I'll do is I'll take out the family room accessories or something like that, and we won't stage that part of the house. And you're totally safe doing that, absolutely safe, because you still make your profit, you still make the revenues you should, and they got the budget that they wanted. When they ask for you to be cheaper, it's not so that you give them the same thing for less value, for less money. It's that you give them that value for the amount that they're going to spend. And I think it's really important that we don't have to back down or anything. Like, it's our business, and you need to make that profit on everything that you do.
And I agree 100%. I think a lot of stagers, they don't know what they can charge in their market, because it's not like there's a website out there that has the pricing, because that would be you know, we teach a price range. They have to investigate because, you know, we don't want to price fix, but there's people that are charging 3 times too low based on what their market will actually support, which means they're leaving a lot of money on the table, which is potential profit. And so as any stager needs to understand, what will the market support? And it's not paid like a regular corporate job or retail job or anything like that. It's paid according to the real estate industry. And so that's how the valuation of what we are able to charge for our time, which then folds into how we package a proposal for staging a vacant or what have you. That's how we come up with that pricing. And it's not just our straight time, it's your expertise that you're providing. And what we provide in staging a house is going to help it sell faster for more money. Statistically, that's been proven. So when they come back and want you to do it for less, it's like you're cutting off the one thing that's going to help your house stand out and be worth more than if you didn't stage. And I remember I had this client that I had never worked with them before and gave them the proposal. And so they came back, we accept your proposal and thank you for taking $400 off the staging since we're a first time client. And I said, I didn't agree to that. And if you want $400 off, then I'm going to start eliminating rooms. We're going to start with the family room. Is that what you want me to do? And they came back and they said, we'll pay your fee. So sometimes these people just try to push the envelope. Sometimes it's a cultural thing. Over the years, I've learned to add, I pad things in my proposals because there's a little wiggle room because there's certain people they like to negotiate. So when they say, well, can you do it for $75 or $100 off? And I take a look and, you know I can. And so I come back and I'm like, okay, I can squeeze a little bit and I can do this for you. So then I look like the good citizen stager, but I'm not losing my profit. If they come back and try to say, well, I want to pay you $300 to stage a family room, dining and kitchen. That just happened to me this last week. And I laughed and I said, that wouldn't even pay to get the truck on the road.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not doing it for that. And you better off bring the furniture you took out of here back in. Well, we have to pay for movers.
Yeah. No way.
Why is that any different than me? And I'm running a business. Suppose I have to pay for the time and all the furniture. So part of that is something that we as an industry have to do a better job at educating the people who are using our services. And that's what our focus is on with the staging industry standards that we're putting together, because they don't fully understand what it takes. I mean, I guess the impression is we just have furniture hanging out in our house. We just can't wait to go dump in somebody else's house for free.
Yeah.
And then our expertise is not worth any value. So we need to change that conversation. And that's the goal of, you know, as much as there are people that do get it, there's still so many that just, they don't understand.
Yeah. I'm really excited that the industry is doing that. And I think that this is the perfect time because I don't think that it was doable 10 years ago, especially because the industry keeps changing. And that's why I think training and coaching and educating and continuing to be at conferences is so important, because what I trained with 10 years ago, I couldn't run my business with now. And if I were staging, and so I think it's so important because someone said to me the other day about the fact that there's occupied certifications now, which is actually something I was looking into doing. And it was so odd because when I took my certification, of course it was occupieds,
right?
But now there's so much focus on vacants because there is such a demand for it, which is great. It means we've educated, there's been success, but it's like people who are asked to do occupieds don't actually really know how. And I for one find occupieds take a lot longer. They're not the simple, easy ones. So you're doing a lot of work on the fly, and it's really where you use your imagination and your expertise when you're. Well,
it's also because I think there's two kinds of, well, maybe three. So there's a stager that likes to engage with people and is really good at the whole psychology of understanding, you know, adjusting themselves to meet their clients' needs and being able to read people. So they're going to get them to do what they want in a consultation, and they don't want to do the vacants. They don't want to have to do the trucks and the whole logistics. So that's that stager. Yeah. Then there's the one that only likes to do vacants. They don't want to engage with people. They're like, leave me alone. I want to make this house. I get to pick everything. I'm in control. We get it set up. Voila, I'm done. I move on to the next project. And they don't want people. They don't want to engage with this whole emotional psychology thing. And then there's the one that does both. And you're right. When we were first trained, it was more about using what the homeowner has in their things. And Sacramento, I didn't even do one. They weren't even staging vacant houses for the whole first year I was in business. I was the first stager. And so I started planting the seed on that. But the thought was like, we don't have to do that. Or why would we? What would that even entail? There wasn't even rental companies that could support that aspect of it. So you're right that a lot of the focus today seems to be on the vacant because we are in control of the look. We get to bring with furnishings in. Everybody's, oh my God, that looks so beautiful. But then
there's so much easier to price.
Right. We're selling properties. And so whether it's a vacant property or it's an occupied house where you're stuck with what the homeowner has and you manage to get them to, fix things up or, remove things and the house, at the end of the day, the house sells. Did the house sell? Then we both did our work properly and made an impact. And so,
Yeah.
but you're right. The occupieds, it's not just walk in and tell people pointing your finger what to do. There's you're walking into situations, sometimes you don't even know what's going on. They could be divorcing, they could be financial distress, lost a job, you don't know what their situation. So we walk into that circumstance blind. Sometimes the realtor will give us information and then you have to kind of size up what they have in their house and think like, oh, can I work with this? Or then, then you softly start suggesting maybe I can bring in some additional items to help add wow factor pizzazz. So it's a more complicated process. The vacant is more physically, logistically challenging because there's all these moving parts that you have to handle. So they both come with their set of challenges. But I think you're right that the industry has sort of gravitated towards really putting a spotlight on the vacant because of the outcome and, how great the house looks and the accolades for the stager, to the point where the occupied people, they still need help. And it's all relative to what they're willing to do in an occupied. When you advise them, you can paint, do remodeling upgrades, whatever it is, or they might just be like, listen, remove that chair, put your pictures away, let's rearrange a little bit. And you're stuck with a house that still feels kind of dated, but at least it looks more presentable.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
also why I think it's so important and really, really, really important to not compare yourself to other stagers.
Yes.
And not to compare your pricing to other stagers because you have first of all, you have no idea. You can't compare one project to another. You can only base it on your projects and maybe a few in your area, but for the most part, it's you. And there's gonna be that variation in price in one area. The other thing is that when you look across the country and when you see the difference in the price of real estate, like even my son said to me this morning, my 10-year-old said, we're driving through our little area to school, and he goes, these are much nicer houses than in Toronto, Mom, and they'd be half the price than they would be in Toronto, and they'd be a third of the price that they are in Toronto.
Right.
However, it's all relative. But the thing is, and this is the difficult part, I think, and this is kind of part of looking at your programs and how much they cost you services, because if it still costs you the same amount of dollars to deliver the job in Calgary versus in Toronto, but the real estate is so different. How do you do that? And so I think you have to you can't do it for less just because the market demands that. Because you still have to make a profit. So that's where you have to really look at the services that you provide, find a better way to do them, change up your services, do something, make it different. And because your inventory, if you were purchasing from the same wholesalers, it's going to be exactly the same cost. And so it doesn't mean that because you're a stager in Calgary versus in Toronto, that in Calgary you should make less money, or your profit should be like this and you're in the hole and can't buy breakfast. It shouldn't mean that. So that's, I think, where we have to kind of, I was trying to think of what's the term that you'd say, when you talk about men growing balls, and I hate saying that to women. So I don't know what the term would be for women, but we have to grow that confidence or have that strength to say, no, this is how I run my business. I make a profit. And if you want to work with me, this is how much I cost.
Right. Sometimes I feel like we apologize for wanting to be successful. Mm-hmm. And especially when, I love it when the homeowner, they're going to profit from the sale. Most of them, the real estate agent is going to, they're making commission. They all make way more than the stager does. And so I sometimes feel like, why are we the only ones being asked to reduce our fees? They don't ask the photographer, the video person. So somehow the value of what we're bringing to the table isn't being translated. And we're the ones that make the house look more marketable. So
and I think when you have that confidence too, and you can walk tall and say, this is my pricing. And I know there's flexibility, and you have to figure it out. But when you can walk tall on your pricing, I think that goes a long way for realtors to go, oh, I really want to work with her because she's not, they're not identifying that you have that confidence, but you're not like a wilting flower to them. You're a business owner who has a product that I want to buy. And she obviously, she delivers on that. They look at you differently when you can stand up and say no, as opposed to, or negotiate. But as soon as if you kind of wilt and be like, okay, I'm going to be comparable to the other stager and I'm not really going to make a profit, you don't win.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm so looking forward to your session. And then you're doing the advanced stager training as well. You'll have a topic you're sharing there. And so that's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of time together. So get to know you even better. So Nashville is going to be awesome. And thank you for all the Canadians that are coming. There's still space. You know, at one point, somebody said they're going to have a whole like cavalcade of motorhomes or something coming down. I don't know if it was when it was Linda or somebody said, we're going to have a whole caravan. So however you have to get there, come by plane, car, caravan, train, motorhome, whatever you got to do to get there. It's going to be awesome. So thank you so much, Catherine. You're a
very welcome.
Of wisdom. Thank you.
And thank you, Jenny, for all you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So say goodbye, Catherine. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, so that's our show for today. I do believe I have people scheduled for next week, even though I know I'm slammed. Let's see here. What is today? So next week, I do have Robin Samora. So she's an excellent marketing and branding person as well. And then Tori Prince, who is with Stage Force. They're going to be my guests next week. And then after that, we won't have a show because we'll be at conference. So it's coming up fast. Get your tickets still. You can also bring +1s if you want to the conference. Excuse me. They just want to see the celebrity sessions and then attend the dinner with you and also the expo or just the dinner. So that we have different ticket options for you to be able to do that. Many people are bringing family members, which is great, or significant others or friends or what have you. So anyhow, looking forward to seeing everybody in Nashville in about a little over 2 weeks. Until then, keep working away, grow your business. And watch the segments that we have in the past. You've missed any of our segments, you can catch them all on homestagingtalklive.com or on our YouTube channel for iHosp. And they're all up there and free for those who would like to watch them. So thank you so much. Please remember to share this segment because we want to reach as many people as possible. See you next week. Bye, everybody.